Today I will be narrating in a British accent because I feel like it. No other reason. Today was my day off, and this is how I spent it. I woke up at 9:15 a.m., but my morning actually started earlier. Around 7 a.m., my mom's voice woke me up briefly. She said, "Please make good choices today, Noah." I was half asleep and didn't think much of it at the time. My cat Avery had been sleeping on my chest all night, and when he finally got up and wanted out of the room, I figured it was time for me to get up too. I opened the door and stepped into the cold, crisp air of the family living room. I felt well rested and awake, but I wasn't sure how I wanted to spend my day. Part of me wanted to just sit, couch surf, and watch TV. But another part of me knew I needed to do something more productive, more intentional. That's when I thought of my self-help journal. I grabbed the journal and headed to the den, the warmest spot in the house. I'd been working through the journal's quick start guide for the past few days. It's full of advice like do the hardest thing first and focus on how you do things, not just what you do. Finishing the guidebook felt like a milestone, and it should have been my signal to actually start using my journal. But instead, I found myself stuck in the mental tug-of-war. One side was saying, "You've done enough. Relax. You've earned it." The other side was pushing me to keep going, saying, "If you move the needle a little more today, you'll feel great about your progress." While I was debating with myself, my family friend came over and offered me a half-finished breakfast. She said she was heading out to study, but didn't want the food to go to waste. I said yes. After she left, I ate the breakfast with a cup of coffee and warmed up an apple turnover in the air fryer. After all that food, I was so stuffed I told myself this is definitely the last thing I'm eating today. Later, I found a video about the 1950 science fiction film Forbidden Planet. The video explored the film's historical significance and its influence on directors like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. I couldn't stop watching. It was so engaging. By the time my mother got home from work, it was around 1 p.m. She'd been working for several hours and wanted to eat something. So I asked her how she was doing. She said, "I'm doing good," and asked how I was doing. And I told her, "I'm doing pretty darn good." While we were talking, I noticed a video on TV of Elon Musk recording his reaction to the LA fires. My mom finds Musk fascinating. She sees him as this strange figure who uses the hyper-sensationalized nature of social media to maintain his popularity and appeal to people who look up to him. I personally find him interesting in a more meta sense, as the richest guy in the world and how he's using his fortune and resources. I asked my mom, "Do you want to watch this?" She said yes, so we sat down together. I expected the video to show Musk giving a heartfelt message to the people affected by the fires. But instead it was him in a firefighting boardroom, questioning the main chief and other firefighters. He was asking things like, what can be done to prevent this, and what's been done so far? And how did this even start? It felt less like an emotional outreach and more like an interrogation. It was interesting in its own way, but after a while my mother got bored. That's when I suggested we watch a documentary I'd started a couple of days earlier. It's about telepathic communication in a non-verbal autistic children. My mom suggested we have some sort of chocolate and raspberry cake we had left over from my friend's birthday party. I thought, why not? It seemed like a nice idea to share dessert while watching something together. As we started the documentary, I had the first few bites of cake with ice cream, and it was delicious. But as I kept eating, I started to realize this was probably not the best idea for my health. The rich cake and creamy ice cream were just adding to the fullness I'd already felt earlier. Oh, and with each bite, I could feel myself getting more and more uncomfortable. Partway through the documentary, we paused. My mom asked me if I'd ever had any supernatural experiences. I told her when I was a young kid, I remember seeing this big, purple giant. It was taller than a palm tree, and I saw it walking outside behind our house. I was looking through the window of the den. I never told anyone because I thought they'd think I was crazy. But that's something that stands out to me. She was surprised and perplexed, and she asked me to describe it in more detail. I told her he was big, purple, bald, and very muscular. He had broad shoulders, a flat head, and a small, focused, contemplative face. He was naked, but luckily I could only see the top of his torso, arms, and head. Everything else was hidden down under a bunch of trees below him. I looked away for a moment, and when I looked back, he was gone. She asked, "What do you think it was?" And I said, "I think my imagination running wild and showing up." Then she asked, "How old were you when you saw it?" And I told her I was around 6 or 7. She found that very interesting, and I said, "There's probably a lot more going on underneath the surface of our reality than we originally anticipated." After that, we returned to the documentary and kept watching. By the time we finished the first hour, I was feeling overstuffed and almost lethargic from all the food I'd eaten. Oh, I thought to myself, this is definitely my last meal. After finishing the documentary, I realized I needed to use the restroom. While I was there, I watched a review of the new Mufasa movie. The reviewer called it corporate malarkey, which is exactly what I was expecting to hear. I wasn't planning on watching the movie. I just like hearing reviewers tear apart corporate products. Then I decided to go for a walk and use ChatGPT to help me write my script. I wanted to step away from the screen and use voice chat while enjoying the crisp winter air. It worked for about 5 minutes before the feature stopped working. I tried restarting the app, but nothing fixed it. So instead, I used the speech-to-text option and had ChatGPT read back what it wrote using text-to-audio. It was not ideal. I really wanted to focus on the walk, but it worked well enough. I spent my walking talking through my day and shaping the story. After I had a finalized version of the script for how I spent the first half of my day, I decided to read it to my mum. I asked her for suggestions on how to make it more interesting and engaging. She suggested 2 things: adding the story about the purple giant I saw as a kid, and making it clear that this was my day off, so people wouldn't think I'm just lazy. I thought those were great ideas, so I said, okay, let me implement those changes. After making the edits, I asked ChatGPT to help seamlessly integrate further details into the story. Once I was satisfied with the updated script, I decided to go and check the mail. When I got to the mailbox, I found a notice that reminded me of something that happened back in October of 2024, a few days before Halloween. That was when I realized that I had been scammed out of $79.90 by an online vendor advertising an alien mask and gloves. At the time, I thought the mask was from Immortal Masks, a company known for the realistic silicone masks, but it turned out the vendor had stolen their images to promote cheap knockoffs. The website Horror Effects Studio also advertised alien arms, silicone gloves with 3 fingers for $10 more. So instead of spending $60, $70, $69, it would be $79.90. I thought at the time, cool, not only will I have a real alien mask for Halloween, but also realistic alien arms. So I bought it. I was excited for the mask to arrive, and even looked up YouTube videos about it. That's when I stumbled across a YouTuber warning people about mask scams. He explained how vendors steal Immortal Masks photos to advertise their fakes, showing side-by-side comparisons of the real and fake masks. It was a light bulb moment. Did I just get scammed? I went back to the website, Horror Effects, and I tried to contact them. The phone number they listed did not work. Their email never got a reply, and then I looked up their address on Google Maps, and it was a vacant building in New Mexico. That's when I realized I had been duped. I reported the scam to the Better Business Bureau and the Federal Trade Commission. Then I contacted my bank to dispute the charge. And today, I finally got my money back. $79.90. Richer and less glad. After all that, I was back to my room, and I decided to refine my script with ChatGPT one more last time. While working, I listened to a documentary about Thomas Pynchon, the American author whose labyrinthian and complex style of writing has recently fascinated me. After the script, I decided to report back the rest of the day by memory, and so that's what you're about to hear right now. Well, my mom arrived. She went on a nice long trip to Hobby Lobby. Then, after all that, we decided to watch Lord of the Rings Return of the King. We were working on it a few days ago, but we only finished hour 1 of the 4-hour movie. We're watching the extended edition. So we decided to finish disc 1 of 2 of the extended edition, and then finally after that I played a game called Empire of the Ants, where you control a whole lot of ants. And then finally after that, I got real sleepy, and I went into my room, and I recorded this video. And afterwards, I'm going to take out the trash, brush my teeth, take my vitamins, nothing in that order, all not in that order, and then go to sleep. And that is my journey. Thank you for listening, and good night to all, and to all a good night.